Welcome to Books in the Freezer, a podcast dedicated to the deliciously disturbing world of horror fiction. And it is just me today, but you know what that means? That means it's new release time. So we are talking about new releases coming out in the latter half of the year. So here are some of my most anticipated releases for the second half of 2024. And there are so many good books, at least good sounding books. I haven't read them all yet. I'll get there though. Coming out this year that I think we can all be really excited about. So honestly, let's just get right to it. Here comes July. Coming out July 2nd, we have A Misfortune of Lake Monsters by Nicole Wolverton. Lemon Ziegler wants to escape rural Devil's Elbow, Pennsylvania to attend college. But that's impossible now that she's expected to impersonate the town's lake monster for the rest of her life. Her family has been secretly keeping the tradition of Old Lucy, the famed and very fake monster of Lake Lokacoma, alive for generations. All to keep the tourists coming. Without Lemon, the town dies. And she can't disappoint her grandparents or tell her best friends about any of it. But when a very real and very hungry monster is discovered in the lake, secrets must fall by the wayside. Determined to stop the monster, Lemon and her best friends are the only thing standing between Devil's Elbow and the monster out for blood. This was the book I was talking about in the Lost Girls episode with Angela Sylvain. I was talking about the character of Lemon and was saying essentially, like, imagine the entire economy of a town being dependent on a teenage girl impersonating a lake monster for tourist money. I mean, that's a lot of pressure for anyone, let alone a teenage girl. And I mean, that's before getting into the horror of the story. So that is A Misfortune of Lake Monsters by Nicole Wolverton that will be coming out July 2nd. Next up, on July 3rd, we have Heads Will Roll by Joshua Winning. After sitcom star Willow tweeted herself into infamy and had to be dragged blind drunk out of a swimming pool, her agent shipped her off to the woodsy and wonderfully anonymous confines of Camp Castaway. Tucked away in the trees of upstate New York, Castaway is a summer camp for adults in desperate need of leaving behind their mistakes, their social media accounts, their lives, no real names, no phones, no way to call for help. I had so much fun with Burn the Negative, Josh's book that came out last year. And when I saw that he had written essentially an adult summer camp slasher, my immediate thought was absolutely sign me up. Will this be a topic that maybe we get into sometime in the next few weeks? I mean, who's to say, you know? But that is Heads Will Roll by Joshua Winning. That will be coming out July 3rd. And on July 9th, we have Bury Your Gaze by the one and only Chuck Tingle. Misha knows that chasing success in Hollywood can be hell. But finally, after years of trying to make it, his big moment is here, an Oscar nomination. And the executives at the studio for his long-running streaming series know just the thing to kick his career to the next level. Kill off the gay characters for the algorithm in the upcoming season finale. Misha refuses, but he soon realizes that he's just put a target on his back. And what's worse, monsters from his horror movie days are stalking him and his friends through the hills above Los Angeles. Haunted by his past, Misha must risk his entire future before the horrors from the silver screen find a way to bury him for good. Everything about this sounds incredible. I personally love a Hollywood horror novel. I am very interested to see what a Chuck Tingle Hollywood horror novel would be like, but I am very excited to find out. Camp Damascus was one of my favorite reads last year, so believe me, I cannot wait to dive into this. That is Bury Your Gaze, coming out July 9th. After that, on July 16th, we have I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. 1989, La Mesa, Texas. A small West Texas town driven by oil and cotton, and a place where everyone knows everyone else's business. So it goes for Tolly Driver, a good kid with more potential than application, 17 and about to be cursed to kill for revenge. Here, Stephen Graham Jones explores the Texas he grew up in, the unfairness of being on the outside, through the slasher horror he lives, but from the perspective of the killer, Tolly, writing his own autobiography. Find yourself rooting for a killer in this summer teen movie of a novel gone full blood-curdling tragic. Addressing the coven for a moment. Does it not feel that the horror gods are just truly smiling down on the slasher fans this year? Like, we are being spoiled. You know what? You will not hear any complaints from me. As you can imagine, I'm always going to be here for a Stephen Graham Jones story, but especially a slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. And this sounds so fascinating in that it's teen killer POV. And it seems like, honestly, kind of a fun time, as slashers are. So yes, beyond excited for this. That is I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. Look out for that on July 16th. Also on July 16th, we have Smother Moss by Alyssa Allering. In 1980s Appalachia, sisters Sheila and Angie couldn't be more different. While their mother works long shifts at the nearby asylum, Sheila does her best to care for their home and keeps to herself, even when enduring relentless bullying from classmates. Her rambunctious, fearless younger sister, Angie, is more focused on fighting imaginary zombies and creating tarot-like cards that seem to have a mind of their own. When the brutal murder of two female hikers on the nearby Appalachian Trail stuns their small community, the sisters find themselves tangled in a dangerous game of cat and mouse. Angie discovers a ripped shirt soaked in blood. Money Sheila's been stashing away disappears, and a strange man shows up at a local store trying to barter with a woman's watch. As the threat of violence looms larger, the mysterious ancient mountain they live on, and their willingness to trust each other, might be the only things that can save them from the darkness consuming their home. I think this book was first brought to my attention by Clay McLeod Chapman on the Summer Scares episode we did a few weeks ago. And I mean, with a title like Smother Moss, I immediately had to go look that up, right? And I fell in love with, yes, the synopsis, but the cover really caught my eye. And I'm a cover person. I know a lot of you out there are also cover people. I really love the cover for this. So very interested in this one. That is Smother Moss by Alyssa Allering. That will be coming out July 16th. And coming July 23rd, we have The Drowning House by Jerry Priest. A violent storm washes a mysterious house onto a rural Pacific Northwest beach, stopping the heart of the only woman who knows what it means. Her grandson, Simon Culpepper, vanishes in the aftermath, leaving two of his childhood friends to comb the small, isolated island for answers. But decades have passed since Melissa and Leo were close, if they were ever close at all. Now they'll have to put aside old rivalries and grudges if they want to find or save the man who brought them together in the first place. And on the way, they'll learn a great deal about the sinister house on the beach, the man who built it, and the evil he's bringing back to Marrowstone Island. There's a few things about this that caught my eye. First of all, Cherie Priest. Loved the family plot, but I also really like stories about houses that just appear, and I have yet to come across a story where an entire house just washes ashore. I also really love an island setting, so looking forward to this one. That is The Drowning House by Cherie Priest, coming out July 23rd. And also coming out July 23rd, we have The Body Harvest by Michael J. Seidlinger. Will is a fraud. Olivia is a wreck. They meet at a grief share group and quickly bond over their brokenness. They also have a peculiar hobby. They seek out sickness. Will hunts for the latest strains of the flu. Olivia doesn't feel comfortable in her body if she isn't suffering from a fever. They become virus chasers, finding confidence in their ability to conquer every affliction they come across. They soon discover an online community of chasers called The Source, and realize that their hobby isn't all that odd when seen from the right distance. And then the mysterious Zaf literally walks into their life, claiming that he has the goods, knows where the latest outbreak will drop. Intrigued, Will and Olivia decide to take their hobby to the point of obsession, believing that if they can conquer the newest strain, nobody can hurt them. As someone who really enjoyed Anybody Home by Michael J. Seidlinger, I am really looking forward to this story. It sounds all kinds of messed up. And you know what? Cannot wait. That is The Body Harvest by Michael J. Seidlinger. And moving into August with The Unmothers by Leslie J. Anderson. This will be coming out August 6th. Marshall is still trying to put the pieces together after the death of her husband. After she's involved in a terrible accident, her editor sends her to the small, backwards town of Rayford to investigate a clearly ridiculous rumor that a horse has given birth to a healthy, human baby boy. When Marshall arrives in Rayford, she finds an insular town that is kinder to the horses they are famous for breeding than to their own people. But when two horribly mangled bodies are discovered in a field, one a horse, one a human, she realizes that there might be a real story here. As she's pulled deeper into the town and its guarded people, her sense of reality is tipped on its head. Is she losing her grip? Or is this impossible story the key to a dark secret that has haunted the women of Rayford for generations? This is a debut novel that I am extremely interested in. I love modern folk horror. And also, if you are doing the Books in the Freezer reading challenge for this year, one of the prompts is folk horror. But not only that, looking at the write-up for this, it says not only is it folk horror, it's a tale of female rage, bodily autonomy, and generational trauma. So yes, we'll be checking this out. That is The Unmothers by Leslie J. Anderson, coming out August 6th. And also coming out August 6th, we have House of Bone and Rain by Gabino Iglesias. For childhood friends Gabe, Xavier, Thavel, Paul, and Bimbo, death has always been close. Hurricanes, car accidents, gang violence, suicide. Estamos rodeados de fantasmas was Gabe's grandmother's refrain. We are surrounded by ghosts. But this time is different. Bimbo's mom has been shot dead. We're gonna kill the guys who killed her, Bimbo swears. And they all agree. Feral with grief, Bimbo has become unrecognizable, taking no prisoners in his search for names. Soon they learn Maria was gunned down by guys working for the drug kingpin of Puerto Rico. No one has ever gone up against him and survived. As the boys strategize, a storm gathers far from the coast, and hurricanes are known to carry evil spirits in their currents and bring them ashore. Spirits which impose their own order. As many of you remember, Gabino Iglesias won the Stoker Award for novel last year with The Devil Takes You Home, which I loved. I am very excited for this. It also seems like this has elements of coming of age stories, crime, revenge, mysticism, supernatural elements. And come on, you know I'm always here for more Latinx horror. So absolutely cannot wait for this. That is House of Bone and Rain by Gabino Iglesias. And you know what else is coming out August 6th? Mask of Flies by Matthew Lyons. In the grisly aftermath of a botched heist, career criminal Anne Heller has no choice but to return to her family's cabin, a secluded shack in the San Luis Valley, and the site of her mother's untimely death. Along for the ride are Jessup, Anne's badly wounded partner, and Dutch, the police officer she's taken hostage. As they wait for help, Anne discovers strange relics of her mother and begins to unfold the mystery of her childhood at the cabin. Anne's quest to uncover more is interrupted when Jessup goes missing, only to turn up dead. She and Dutch bury her friend, but that night, the dead man comes back, seemingly risen from his grave to knock at the cabin door. Not a dream, not a hallucination, but not exactly Jessup either. Something else. Something wearing her friend's face. Something hungry. And the cops aren't the only ones after Anne, and unraveling the secrets of her mother's past may be her only hope of getting out alive. This novel seems like it starts off with a bang, and then somehow manages to get wilder and wilder, like upping the stakes as it goes on. I really enjoyed Matthew Lyons' previous novel, A Black and Endless Sky, which was like the siblings on a road trip possession story. I thought that was a lot of fun and also had stressful high stakes. So I feel like that's something he does well. Looking forward to this. That is A Mask of Flies by Matthew Lyons. And also coming out August 6th, we have Crushing Snails by Emma E. Murray. Trigger warning for animal death and child death. Winnie Campbell is 16 and a burgeoning serial killer. Her father blames her for her mother's death, dotes on her little sister, and executes increasingly cruel punishments meant to humiliate Winnie. As the punishments morph into torture, she begins fantasizing about regaining some semblance of power, eventually working through her rage by killing small animals. When her violent games escalate and she accidentally kills an infant while babysitting, Winnie gets a taste of a power she doesn't want to let go of. Her obsession with killing grows, and so does her fascination for Lee, a girl that reminds her of her younger self. Winnie wants to kill. She wants to die. She wants to be someone other than herself, and killing Lee, a symbolic suicide, could be the key to her metamorphosis. So I currently have this one on my Kindle. I am very excited to read it, but it definitely seems like one of those books I'm going to have to definitely be in the right headspace for. Like, it sounds fascinating, but dark. Just one of those, like, you have to know what you're getting into. But like I said, very excited for this. That is Crushing Snails by Emma E. Murray. And on August 13th, we have Through the Midnight Door by Katrina Monroe. Trigger warning for suicide. The Finch sisters once spent long, hot summers exploring the dozens of abandoned properties littering their dying town, until they found an impossible home with an endless hall of doors and 3 keys left waiting for them. Curious, fearless, they stepped inside their chosen rooms and experienced horrors they never dared speak of again. Now, years later, youngest sister Claire has been found dead in that old desiccated house. Haunted by their sister's suicide and the memories of a past they've struggled to forget, Meg and Esther find themselves at bitter odds. As they navigate the tensions of their brittle relationships, they draw unsettling lines between Claire's death, their own haunted memories, and a long-ago loss no one in their family has ever been able to face. With the house once again pulling them ever closer, Meg and Esther must find the connection between their sister's death and the shadow that has chased them across the years, before the darkness claims them too. This sounds like a book that is going to break my heart, but it does have such a fascinating premise. The vibes I'm getting from that alone are Mike Flanagan's Haunting of Hill House and the second season of Channel Zero. Was that called like The No End House? Which also dealt with grief. You guys know I'm always here for weird houses and stories that are going to break my heart. So very excited for this one. That is Through the Midnight Door by Katrina Monroe. That'll be out August 13th. And on August 20th, we have Clown in a Cornfield 3, The Church of Friendo by Adam Caesar. After surviving the Friendo rampage at Tillerson's farm, the Friendo attack in her college dorm, and the clown uprising in downtown Kettle Springs, Quinn Maybrook is determined to put an end to the cult of Friendo once and for all. But what Quinn doesn't realize is that an evil like this never dies. It multiplies. Quinn has just survived yet another bloody run-in with Friendo, and somehow she knows this won't be the last. Tired of being hunted and seeing innocent people hurt, Quinn believes the only way to beat the horror is to take justice into her own hands and stop the Friendo followers herself. Little does she know that the path will take her across cornfields and states where she will have to face the most dangerous menace yet. True believers. Evil dies tonight. Just kidding. I really love the cover for this one. I do feel for Quinn, though. She has gone through so much. It's tough being the final girl of a whole slasher franchise. You know, it's a lot to carry. That girl is tired. But this one sounds really interesting. I do love this added cult element to this third installment. So I'll be looking forward to that. That is Clown in a Cornfield 3, The Church of Friendo. And on August 20th, we have We Love the Nightlife by Rachel Collar Croft. London, 1979. 2 women with a deep love for disco meet one fateful night on the dance floor, changing the course of both of their lives forever. Nicola, a beautiful and brooding vampire for nearly 2 centuries, can't resist fun-loving and feisty Amber from America, ultimately offering an eternity together where the glamour of nightlife always takes center stage. But not all is what it seems. Nearly 50 years later, after an unexpected betrayal, Amber wants out from under Nicola's thumb. But it won't be so simple to break up this festering friendships when she learns others have done the same and wound up dead. Sensing Amber's restlessness, and in one last play to keep her close, Nicola proposes they open a nightclub of their very own, hearkening back to their best days as dancing queens. Amber agrees, but she's secretly hatching a dangerous escape plan. And if she fails, the party is over for good. This book has everything: disco dancing, vampire nightclubs, toxic friendships. I mean, what more could you ask for? In all seriousness, I finished this recently and I had a lot of fun with it. It was very good. Recommend. That is We Love the Nightlife by Rachel Collar Croft. On August 27th, we have The Madness by Dawn Kurtikich. With one unexpected email from her estranged best friend Lucy, Mina Murray's carefully curated life is turned upside down. Leaving behind her psychiatric practice in London, along with her routine and the calm it brings, she returns to the windswept shores of Wales. Faced with everything she's left behind, she soon discovers that Lucy's symptoms mirror those of her mysterious patient with amnesia, hundreds of miles away. With nothing but an untreatable sickness connecting the two women, and with Lucy's life on the line, Mina finds herself asking questions and being drawn even deeper into a web of secrets, missing girls, and the powerful nameless force at its center. One that has been haunting her for years. As terrible, ancient truths begin to reveal themselves, Mina prepares to confront her own darkest secrets, and with them, an evil beyond comprehension. Together with a group of smart, savvy women, Mina seizes one last desperate chance to stop the cycle that began so long ago. But there are dangers to inviting the attentions of what might not be a man, but a monster. I have this book on my bookshelf, and I have been meaning to get to it because it sounds so interesting. I mean, I see the names, I see the nods. Just curious to see what direction it goes. So that is The Madness by Dawn Kurtikich, coming out August 27th. And moving right into September with The Night Guest by Hildur Knudsendottir, coming out September 3rd. Yoon is in yet another doctor's office. She knows her constant fatigue is a sign that something's not right, but practitioners dismiss her symptoms and blood tests haven't revealed any cause. When she talks to her friends and family about it, the refrain is the same. Have you tried eating better? Exercising more? Establishing a nighttime routine? She tries to follow their advice, buying everything from vitamins to sleeping pills to a step counting watch. Nothing helps. Until one night, she falls asleep with the watch on and wakes up to find she's walked over 40,000 steps in the night. What is happening when she's asleep? Why is she waking up with increasingly disturbing injuries? And why won't anyone believe her? I mentioned this book in the Nordic horror episode a few months ago with Annette as a book I was really looking forward to. I love the cover. I'm always a sucker for a pink horror cover. And it's very minimal, very eye-catching. But also, with the synopsis, I do want to know, where is she going at night? What is the secret? I have to know. So that is The Night Guest by Hildur Knudsendottir. That is coming out September 3rd. Also on September 3rd is Haunt Sweet Home by Sarah Pinsker. When aimless 20-something Mara lands a job as the night shift production assistant on her cousin's ghost-hunting home makeover reality TV show, Haunt Sweet Home, she quickly determines her new role will require a healthy attitude towards duplicity. But as she hides fog machines in the woods and improvises scares to spook new homeowners, A series of unnerving incidents on set and a creepy new coworker force Mara to confront whether the person she's truly been deceiving and hiding from all along is herself. I, for one, am a little surprised that we don't have more ghost real estate shows like that Ghost Realtor show from Nathan For You. This sounds very interesting, though. I love that it's a novella, and I love that it also seems like a journey of self discovery through this horror lens, which I'm always here for. So that is Haunt Sweet Home, and that will be coming out September 3rd. And on September 10th, by Rachel Harrison, we have So Thirsty. Sloane Parker is dreading her birthday. She doesn't need a reminder she's getting older or that she's feeling indifferent about her own life. Her husband surprises her with the birthday weekend getaway. Not with him, but with Sloane's longtime best friend, troublemaker extraordinaire, Naomi. Sloane anticipates a weekend of wine tastings and cozy robes and strategic avoidance of issues she'd rather not confront, like her husband's repeated infidelity. But when they arrive at their rental cottage, it becomes clear Naomi has something else in mind. She wants Sloane to stop letting things happen to her, for Sloane to really live. So, Naomi orchestrates a wild night out with a group of mysterious strangers, only for it to take a horrifying turn that changes Sloane's and Naomi's lives literally forever. The friends are forced to come to terms with some pretty eternal consequences in this bloody, seductive novel about how it's never too late to find satisfaction, even though it might taste different than expected. I am so excited. We have a new Rachel Harrison book to look forward to. I truly don't know how she does it. I have accused her in the past of somehow stealing my therapist's notes, but I do feel like every time she writes a book, it somehow addresses something that I have been dealing with. Like I said, don't know how she does this, but a novel about like friendship and aging anxiety. Yes, I need this right away. And also, she's described this novel as kind of a Thelma and Louise with vampires, which I don't know how that's not absolutely incredible. Cannot wait for this, of course. That is So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison, coming out September 10th. And on September 24th, we have Devils Kill Devils by Johnny Compton. When all hell breaks loose, you need a devil on your side. Sarita has been watched over by a guardian angel her entire life. She calls him Angelo and keeps him a secret, but secrets can't stay buried forever. When Angelo murders someone she loves, Sarita begins to see what's really been lurking in the shadows surrounding her, and she will have to embrace the evil within if she hopes to make it out alive. I am very excited for this one. I loved Spite House, and this was actually one of the author readings that I caught at StokerCon, and I highly recommend going to author readings if you ever find yourself attending a StokerCon. I think they're very well worth it. There's usually like 3 or 4 authors per session, and some of them just do such a great job just reading a chapter from their story and really making it come to life. And I really loved this reading. I think he did the first chapter of this book, and let me tell you, you will be intrigued. So that is Devils Kill Devils, coming out September 24th by Johnny Compton. Coming out September 3rd is Horror for Weenies, Everything You Need to Know About the Films You're Too Scared to Watch by Emily C. Hughes. You don't have to miss out just because you don't like being frightened. Stop trying to read those nonsensical Wikipedia plot summaries. We know you're doing it. and let an expert tell you everything you need to know about the most influential horror films of the past 60 years without a single jump scare or drop of gore. With a rundown of the history and significance of horror cinema, explanations of common tropes, and detailed entries on 25 important movies ranging from Night of the Living Dead to The Blair Witch Project to Get Out, Horror for Weenies will turn even the scarediest of cats into a confident connoisseur. I finished reading this last week and I had a lot of fun with it. Yes, as the synopsis says, this is perfect for people who consider themselves quote unquote weenies or people that are a little hesitant to watch horror movies. And interestingly enough, I feel like I've met a lot of people who read a lot of horror books, but are a little worried about the scares in watching them. As someone who loves horror movies, this was still such a fun read. I loved Emily's plot recaps. Some of them were just absolutely hilarious, had me just like cackling to myself like a mad woman outside. I'm sure my neighbors were worried. So I had a really good time with this. And this is also one of those books that I feel like would make a good holiday gift. So that is Horror for Weenies, Everything You Need to Know About the Films You're Too Scared to Watch by Emily C. Hughes. And on September 10th, from Maureen Kilmer, we have Nightmare of a Trip. Lee Somerset wants to spend some quality time with her kids before they grow up. And her husband has always fancied himself some sort of Clark Griswold figure. So the Somersets will be spending their family vacation on the road, driving from suburban Milwaukee to Orlando, Florida. Already off to a rocky start when they stumble upon an abandoned, half-burnt farmhouse in Indiana, the Somersets inadvertently unleash an eerie past that will follow them the rest of their trip. From creepy indoor water parks to paranormal activity-plagued Cracker Barrels, it's one thing after another in the pursuit of the great American summer road trip. Will the Somersets be able to shake these bad vibes and get on with family bonding? Or will the road less traveled become the highway to hell? This sounds like the perfect summer horror comedy. This is the same author that wrote Suburban Hell, which is sadly still on my TBR, but I've heard nothing but great things about it, and I promise I will get to it someday. But I might be picking this one up first because it sounds really fun. So that is A Nightmare of a Trip by Maureen Kilmer. And we are getting a new Brom book this year. That is Evil in Me. Aspiring musician Ruby Tucker has had enough of her small rural town and dysfunctional family. But a falling out with her best friend and bandmate has killed her dreams of escaping and making it big with the Atlanta punk scene. While helping her eccentric neighbor organize his religious artifacts, an ancient ring clamps down on her finger, possessing her with the spirit of a bloodthirsty demon. There's no exorcising it unless hundreds of people chant a spell to set Ruby free. And what's worse, the ring is a beacon for evil, drawing an unimaginably wicked mob straight to Ruby, hungry for her flesh. If Ruby can get her band back together, she has a shot at salvation. It's time for her to face the music and put her whole soul into a song, one powerful enough to raise some hell. When I found out that we were getting a new Brom book in 2024, I don't think you could understand the reaction that I had. I mean, I immediately posted, so I feel like you knew that reaction was excitement. It's written 2 books that I've rated 5 stars, and the ones that are not 5 stars are just because I haven't read them yet. And the question with Brom books is, which format do you get them in? Because the audiobooks are always spectacular, but Brom is also an illustrator. So if you get a physical copy, you're also getting detailed paintings and beautiful end papers. So you might have to just like get them all, you know? So that is Evil in Me by Brom. And let's move into October, spooky season, babes. And you know what? Let's start that off with Coup de Grace by Sophia Atram. Ficken has a plan. Throw himself into the St. Lawrence River in Montreal and end it all for good, believing it to be the only way out for him after a lifetime of depression and pain. But stepping off the subway, he finds himself in an endless looping station. Determined to find a way out again, he starts to explore the rooms and corridors ahead of him. But no matter how many claustrophobic hallways or vast cathedral-esque rooms he passes through, the exit is nowhere in sight. The more he explores his strange new prison, the more he becomes convinced he hasn't been trapped there accidentally. And amongst the shadows and concrete, he comes to realize that he almost certainly is not alone. I have been intrigued by this book since I first heard about it. I did not know that I needed a labyrinthian, backrooms-esque novella in my life, but it turns out I do. And all of the early reviews and blurbs that I've seen have said that this book is scary. It's extremely intense. And I just feel like I'm ready. I'm ready for this challenge. I want to read it. So that is Coup de Grace by Sophia Atram. That'll be coming out October 1st. And coming out October 15th, we have American Rapture by C.J. Lead. A virus is spreading across America, transforming the infected and making them feral with lust. Sophie, a good Catholic girl, must traverse the hellscape of the Midwest to try to find her family while the world around her burns. Along the way, she discovers there are far worse fates than dying a virgin. The end times are coming. I have been so excited for American Rapture. I want to say since the moment it was announced, or at least, since the moment it was announced to me, since I found out about it. But Mayfly was one of my favorite books last year. I cannot wait to read this follow-up that is somehow like a sexual virus road trip Catholic guilt story. And I mean, have you seen that cover? Right? So, beyond excited for that. That is American Rapture by C.J. Lead. And on October 29th, we have The Queen by Nick Cutter. On a sunny morning in June, Margaret Carpenter wakes up to find a new iPhone on her doorstep. She switches it on to find a text from her best friend, Charity Atwater. The problem is, Charity's been missing for over a month. Most people in town, even the police, think she's dead. Margaret and Charity have been lifelong friends. They share everything, know the most intimate details about one another. But Charity carries a secret that even she's unaware of. And now Charity wants Margaret to know her story, the real story. In a narrative that takes place over one feverish day, Margaret follows a series of increasingly dreadful breadcrumbs as she forges deeper into the mystery of her best friend, a person she never truly knew at all. Okay, but what's the secret? I need to know. I'm really excited we get a new Nick Cutter book this year. I also really like stories that are about a relationship where maybe this person, your friend or your spouse, just isn't who you thought they were. I like that. I also love that it takes place over a day. I like that time constraint in a story. So looking forward to that. That is The Queen by Nick Cutter. And on October 15th from Shortwave, we have Rest Stop by Nat Cassidy. A young musician finds himself locked inside a gas station bathroom in the middle of the night by an unseen assailant, caught between the horrors on the other side of the door and the horrors rapidly skittering down the walls inside. Let me tell you one of the last places I would want to find myself trapped. If you were going to guess a dirty gas station bathroom, you would be correct. But gross or not, I am very much looking forward to this one. And let me tell you why. Because if there is someone who I trust to really take advantage of this claustrophobic setting and to raise the stakes and tension, that is Nat Cassidy. So I am beyond excited for this. That is Rest Stop. That's coming out October 15th. And ending with a November 15th release, we have a sequel. Candy Cane Kills Again, The Second Slaying by Brian McCauley. After surviving the horrors of Christmas Eve at the Thornton house, Austin, Mateo, and Fiona head to the Church of Nodland to get some confessions from Pastor Wendell and his congregation. Little do they know that Candy Cane is coming to town to wish one and all a very merry Xmas. I feel like this is the perfect note to end on. And I don't know when you're listening, but you have a few months to get Candy Cane Kills read before the release of Candy Cane Kills Again, The Second Slaying. I cannot wait to see what direction the story goes. If you happened to see Brian at StokerCon, he also had like Candy Cane Kills Again cards that he was handing out, which were a lot of fun. And you know what made me even more excited about this book's release? So that is Candy Cane Kills Again, The Second Slaying. This is again part of that killer VHS series from Shockwave, and this is by Brian McCauley. It is just me today, but I still have time to tell you about a chilling obsession, right? So this is me telling you that I finally got around to watching The First Omen on Hulu, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It could be because I had pretty low expectations going in, yet now that I've watched it, I've heard people say that it's very good. But going in, I had pretty low expectations because it's a movie prequel, and you know how those things go sometimes. Stylistically, I thought it was beautiful. I thought there were some great performances, including a scene that I believe was meant to be a nod to the kind of subway scene in Possession. And of course, as a prequel, there were plenty of nods to several of the iconic scenes in The Omen. No final girl song this week, but as always, feel free to tell me what you've been listening to or what you would add to the Final Girl playlist. Books in the Freezer is a bi-weekly podcast. We post episodes every other Tuesday. You can find us on Instagram, Threads, TikTok at booksinthefreezer.com or send us an email at booksinthefreezer@gmail.com. Show notes for this episode and all previous episodes are at booksinthefreezer.com, where you will find a list of the books mentioned in this episode and all previous episodes. If you would like to support the podcast, there are a few ways to do that, and most of those ways can be found on the show notes. There are affiliate links. There is a link to Patreon, but you can also leave a review on a site like Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Doing that helps the algorithm know that people are liking the show, and it raises visibility and helps other people find the show. It's a whole thing. And this is an indie podcast. So just know any support is greatly appreciated. And I appreciate all of you who have already taken the time to do that. So thank you so much. I have been your host, Stephanie Gagne, and see you next time on Books in the Freezer.